The words confusion and frustration came to mind when I thought about how I felt watching the Buckeyes game Saturday. But upon further review, there were some good things the Buckeyes did on Saturday that can be building blocks for good play in the future.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Tuesday, September 12th in the year 2023, and this episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's episode, we will go over how the offensive line can improve their play, and I will unveil my college football top 10. But first, when thinking about the Buckeyes game, in the moment and even a couple of days after during yesterday's show, I discussed and had the feeling of confusion and frustration watching this Buckeyes team. Even in the moment during the rewatch, I looked at it and said, oh, I got this nugget, I got that nugget, I want to see this changed, I want to see that changed. But even then, I was even thinking about present day right now, how the Buckeyes played. But when I took a step back, had a big picture view about how this is only game number 2 and that the season is really long, I was comforted that, hey, what we're seeing now might not be what we see in a few days and might not be what we see against Notre Dame, against Penn State, against Purdue, against Maryland, and the other opponents on the Buckeyes football schedule. Now, just because that is something that is true, that in the future you can have a little bit of hope that what we have seen over the past 2 weeks might not be what we see in the future. That is true. At the same time, you got to put the work in. You got to realize what the problems are and also formulate a way to fix said issue. You have to really go out there and do that. Do I have a belief that the coaches are in the lab formulating a plan to fix the issues with the Buckeyes offense and defense? Because it's not just one side of the ball. The defense has their issues as well. I do believe that. Do I believe the Buckeyes are talented? Absolutely. Do I think the Buckeyes are a team that can work through some early season abnormal situations? Absolutely. But also, working through it now is great in practice in the film room. Doing it on Saturday against Western Kentucky, the following Saturday in prime time against Notre Dame, doing it after the bye week against Maryland, Purdue, and the others, that's a different story. And so I do feel a little bit of comfort with some of the early season issues, some of them being the run game, some of them being the offensive line, some of them being the way the quarterbacks are being utilized. I understand why they are the way they are for all three of those categories, but some of those things got to get fixed. Tight is one of those areas, just to be honest with you, I have no complaints. I have none. Now, I would love to see Cade Stover get a little bit more action in the passing game a week ago, but when you go from Cade Stover leading the team in receptions to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka to getting a lot of touches, getting a lot of targets, and having 3 touchdowns combined, 2 for Harrison Jr., 1 for Egbuka, I think that's an okay trade-off. Remove Cade, get the ball in two of your best playmakers' hands. I am cool with that. Defensively, D tackle, D end, we need more from y'all consistently. Get a little bit of a push. Stop somebody on third down. Do some of the things that you would think would be expectations for any football team. Not just the Buckeyes, but for any football team. If I am a coach of a middle school team, 7th graders, first time they're playing football at this particular school, I am going to try to preach a few things. One of them being fundamentals. Now, the fundamentals for a quarterback they're different than the fundamentals for an offensive lineman, but they're still fundamentals for that position. So, getting a little too animated. So I'm going to start to work on coaching up and teaching the fundamentals. Now, you know that guys coming in to 7th grade football, they're not always up to speed. Some guys play travel ball, and I don't know how it is nowadays. I have not been around that level of football in quite a long time, but I do know when I was in 7th grade, for me, for example, it was my first time playing football in my life. My brother played football. He was younger than me by a couple grades, 3 years in age. So my brother played football, so I watched football from him. I watched it on the television, but I ain't never played football for myself. Just me, myself, and I. So while teaching the fundamentals, I am brand new. I am green. I can figure things out because, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. You have guys that came in, at least when I was playing in football younger, guys that have been playing travel ball. I didn't know what travel ball. I knew there was a travel team. The mini bears, I didn't know much about that, but I realized there were some guys that came in, they're pretty good. They had a little bit of chemistry. Travel ball, different level. Now, they also had there were guys that played rec league ball as well. And so teaching the fundamentals is one thing, but you have a goal. Your goal is to, on day one, start implementing certain things. Day 10, day 20, day 30. Work on things you originally implemented, but also start to put some more things into practice and teach more things. As one, you're going to have people that are here that maybe have never played ball before, but then two, some guys that have played ball a lot but still need to work on their fundamentals. When it comes to Ohio State, there are things that the coaches have been worked on in the offseason for a long period of time. All of a sudden, you get to game time. Oh, okay, cool. We thought they had it in practice. In the game, it's not translated the same way. So how can we work on tweaking some of the things that were issues not issues during the offseason, but issues in the early season to not make them consistent issues for this player and for this team going forward? Defensive line need more. Linebackers need some more. Not a whole lot, but need some more. Secondary, Denzel Burke play good. Igba Nelson, I think they're going to continue to pick on you and whoever else is in the secondary. Sonny Styles, Ransom, Proctor, Hartford, Carter, all the guys playing in the secondary. Hey, look, we need to see some things, and some of the issues we have seen early on, a lot of them being not all, but some of them being coaching, they're fixable, and it's early in the season. How about we also provide this little reality check about this football team? What we have seen is things can be better. The Buckeyes have shot themselves in the foot a lot. Remember, I think it was a Trevion Henderson touchdown run that was brought back due to a holding call. Remember the Mayan Williams touchdown run that was called back due to a holding call? Remember some of the times when you think, oh, things are going well. What do you have? Holding. What do you have? Maybe a false start. What do you have? Oh, maybe a missed block. What do you have? Oh, maybe a misread. What do you have? Oh, maybe a quarterback going to the wrong hole. These are things that are tweaks that can be made. Coachable moments in a game. But also the coachable moments and tweaks, we aren't sure what's going to happen in the future. So the good thing is it's early in the season. The good thing is things can change. The good thing is that we tighten down and figure out more about the rotation at quarterback and running back and even some of the defensive line and secondary, because ultimately I don't know if we truly know the running back rotation yet. I understand you got 3 guys that should play or that are good enough to play. I don't fully think that Tony Alford or Ryan Day knows the running back rotation, which has gone into some of the early season issues running the ball. A lot of that is on the O-line, but some of that is on trying to figure out who should play when. Xavier Johnson got a little bit of run. Is that going to be something we see in the future? That's to be determined. But some of the early season issues Ohio State has had, they're early season issues. They don't have to be permanent issues for 2023. They don't have to be, but they might be. This is literally a work in process and trying to figure out how to overcome some of the issues the Buckeyes have right now so they are not issues in the future. A unit that has had issues early in the season but can improve their play going forward is the offensive line. I'll tell you how that can happen next on LOCKEDON Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. And did you know Billiards Plus has top-of-the-line grills with up to 30-year warranties? That's longer than most roofs. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Alhassan, Canada, Billiards, and more. Plus, top-of-the-line grills from PK, Napoleon, Memphis, and Le Griddle. That could very well be the last grill you own. The perfect gift for any occasion is in stock at Billiards Plus. Go big with an awesome pool table or shuffleboard table, or a little more modest with a dartboard or poker table. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. And the people at Billiards Plus are the best part of the experience. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will take amazing care of you. Billiards Plus, visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every single day. A quick programming note for the rest of the week. Still planning on having shows Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There will not be a live post-game show on YouTube at the end of the game on Saturday evening. I am planning on my wife and I will be at the game on Saturday. So no post-game show. There will be a show coming in your feed that'll drop on you Sunday morning for your enjoyment as we recap together the Buckeyes game between Western Kentucky. So offensive line issues are one thing that sometimes are a little bit tricky to discuss because sometimes there are things that we just don't truly understand. Sometimes there are things we understand, but also we don't know how to describe it. And so when it comes to offensive line issues, I love it. I saw a recent breakdown from Joe Thomas of Duwan Jones describing what Jones did very well on a play. That's great. As a Hall of Famer, talking about a guy who is a rookie in the league, breaking down something that the Hall of Famer or future Hall of Famer, if he's not in already, used to do on the football field. So that's great. I understand it. There are also times you get guys that, just don't do very well. I love offensive line play. Those of you that have been around for a while, the everydayers truly understand multiple seasons of me here on the podcast. You realize your boy loves O-line play and I love D-line play. Sometimes I can describe it, sometimes I cannot. But some of the things we saw from the Buckeyes offensive line so far this season, a lot of them are good. A lot of them are building blocks. And when you have a guy, 3 of the 5 O-linemen are new starters this season, you expect growing pains. With one of the 5 new offensive linemen that's starting is new to the team, but you really expect growing pains. Learning a new system, yes, that's going to take some time. Learning how to communicate with the guy next to you, that takes a whole lot more time than you think. So a lot of people have pointed at Simmons and said, Josh Simmons, he's a weak link on the offensive line. Is it because he's a newcomer? Is it because he's still working on communication with left guard Donovan Jackson and the backs and the quarterbacks behind him? Some of these things we know, some of these things we don't know at all. But when it comes to the O-line, a lot of the issue is just figuring out pass pro and picking out who has who can pick up who. There were times I know against Indiana and against Youngstown State, we look out there and see, that's a liability. That's an issue. Wait, is it? It's literally guys in the moment on live television trying to figure out hey, we have never seen this concept. We're going to try to figure it out on the fly. Oh, the running back has him because somebody went outside and we didn't know that they went outside. We passed my guy off to the running back, but my guy that was passed off to the running back is now free to go to the quarterback because of communication. So a lot of the O-line issues are communication, and I do think they're going to be fixed. I firmly believe that. Some of the third down and short yard situations where you think the Buckeyes can just like use your brute strength, man on man, hat on hat, I am going to bulldoze you back to give the guy with the ball behind me a path to get a first down. Some of those things are things that can be worked on as well, but also a lot of that, though, is short yardage. Do you want this more than the guy across from you? Like, I think that's where we're sitting at with a lot of the issues with the Buckeyes. It's not ability. It's not that the guy across from them is better. It's the desire to beat that man across from you and have such a large desire to beat that man that you do things that sometimes wow yourself while beating the man across from you. So I understand a lot of the things are communication. Those can be fixed. Those are easy ways to improve the play. Some of the things we're seeing on the weekend, they're not just communication, but it's, hey, is this the right play for the time? Some of them in Simmons, one of the touchdowns I mentioned earlier, that was called back for holding. That was a hold on Chip Trainum. And even then, like, what he did doesn't always get called. But the reaction from the defender when he reached out his hand to try to get Mayan, and the ref saw Chip Trainum's left arm kind of in a holding or simulating a holding situation. I don't really think he was holding, but I do think that was the call there because of the defender's arm going out. I understand it. Simmons, on the time when he got called for holding in the red zone, what do we see? We saw Simmons really have a really good block. Hand slipped, went up, kept going up, but as it kept going up, it hit the defender's helmet. In the review, in the rewatch, I saw the same thing that I saw in live time, in real time in the game. And so that's something, maybe a slip of the hand. That's a big slip of the hand, but it may be a slip of the hand. That can be fixed. Some of these things are little tweaks. One thing we have seen, though, when these guys pull, they're doing a good job of it. And so you got your left guard, your left tackle, right guard, right tackle. Sometimes you're pulling both at the same time. What are you getting? Some good movement out of them. I saw one time, I believe this was a long run for Henderson. I don't believe it was when he hurdled over the guy for a 2-yard gain and was like, oh my, ooh, wow. Now the hurdle was great. The 2-yard gain was not. You want more yards if you're going to celebrate the way that he did. However, I understand the celebration for what he did. I just don't agree with what he did based off the results of that play. Also, I do believe with Henderson, I've been hard on him for a long time. If they fix some of these O-line issues, Henderson looks a whole lot better in game. Even with some of the issues he has as a player, Henderson will look a whole lot better once communication, play calling gets fixed. All of those things, Henderson will look like a whole lot better player and more of a pro prospect than some people view him right now. But Simmons, though, that slip of the hand, like accidentally, it happened though, but it can be fixed. A lot of the O-line stuff can be fixed. The short yardage stuff is not so much film room. It's just digging in yourself and just having the desire to go out there and bulldoze a guy across from you. The O-line has issues, but those issues can be fixed. The good thing is it's early in the season, and there are a few more games in front of the Buckeyes. They can show, one, they're getting better, and two, they're fixing the issues that they've had during the first 2 games. This is something coming up next that I planned on doing on yesterday's show, but at the time of that recording, I could not unveil my college football top 10. It's coming at you next on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL season is here, and a great way to get involved with this great time of year is the incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. Once again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. My college football top 10 is something that is going to be a staple of this show as we go forward and we look at the Buckeyes, and the Locked On Top 25 gets unveiled every single week. I'm going to unveil my top 10 as well. You may agree, you may disagree. That's what we're here for. Have a little fun, have a little debate, have a healthy conversation about things going on in college football. The Locked On Top 25, apologize for the graphic not being up right now. The Buckeyes are currently number 7 in Locked On's Top 25 for the network's poll. There are multiple Big Ten teams in the top 25, and there are some notable teams that have moved as well. Iowa is number 23. You have Colorado, who won again, beating Nebraska, which that was one that I expected after the way they played TCU. But going out there and expecting it is one thing. Going out there and doing it is another. Colorado is number 16. You have Alabama is 10 in the Locked On Top 25. Notre Dame 9. Washington 8. Ohio State 7. Penn State 6. USC 5. Texas 4 after beating Alabama on the road. Number 3, Florida State. Number 2, Michigan. And number 1, Georgia. Now, the Locked On Top 25 has the Buckeyes at number 7. Myself, I had the Buckeyes at number 8. And even then, I could have said in the moment, I said, oh, Alabama could beat Ohio State. Then I saw how bad their O-line was, and I was like, as many issues as I can pinpoint and depict from the Buckeyes D-line, man, I do think Tuimoloau and Sawyer could get home with how that O-line looked. Man, just really thinking out there and thinking about how the Buckeyes, if they improve, they can have some big statement wins this season that can boost them for some big tests down the road in the playoff. But my top 10 for the following week 2, going into week 3, number 10, I have Alabama. Number 9, I have Washington. Number 8, I have Ohio State. Number 7, Notre Dame. Number 6, USC. Number 5, Michigan. Number 4, Penn State. Number 3, Texas. Number 2, Florida State. And number 1, Georgia. Ultimately, when I was thinking about this and going through this, I was really close to putting Texas at 2. Really, really close. However, I couldn't do it just yet. Michigan and Ohio State are 2 teams that I was like, hey, great. They'll do a whole lot better than they have. And then what do you get? Buckeyes against the FCS opponent. I don't care who it is, if it's North Dakota State or anybody else out there with a state that's in the FCS level next to their name. Hey, I don't really care. The Buckeyes, I expect better from them. I also expected better from Michigan over the weekend as well. Michigan beat UNLV 35-7. Just being realistic. Colorado, week 2, beat Nebraska 36-14. Really convincing win that they had during that season, or during that game on Saturday afternoon. Let me go back a little bit. Get to my notes. Oregon is a team. Now, I have Oregon at number 13. They won once again. Competition hasn't really been up there, but you scored 81 points week 1, 38-30 win over Texas Tech in week 2. I dig it. I'm giving Georgia the benefit of the doubt. They beat Ball State 45-3. And I am someone that's like, hey, I understand. I really think Georgia's a good football team. Some people have them falling in their poll. Until they give me a reason to move them, Georgia's going to be there. Now, I would love for them to score more than 45 against a MAC school, but that did not happen. The one thing that really shook things up was, do I put Alabama in my top 10? Yeah, they got a loss. It was at home against a team that's now in my top 4, but do I move Alabama out? And every week I kind of rearrange the poll. Every week is fresh. Now I do go back and think about, hey, how did I view this team a week ago? And how does that compare to how I view them now? That is how I go about things. But also, when I go 1 through 4, 1 through 10, 1 through 12, it's very much like I am making a poll at this point of the season, a snapshot to say, hey, these are the teams, top 4, that would be in my playoff right now. Do I think anybody could beat Georgia? Yes, it's possible, but Georgia's still getting the benefit of the doubt. Do I think Georgia is the only team that could beat Florida State? I don't, just being honest with you. But I was really questioning, do I put Texas at 2 or 3? So it's every week is something new. For the Buckeyes to move up, they got to show me a whole lot more. I mean, I said it a day ago when I was really contemplating putting Notre Dame at 8, Ohio State at 7. But as I said on a show, I think it was yesterday on Monday, if the Buckeyes and Notre Dame had to play right now, this may have been during the postgame show, but it's been within one of the past 2 shows we have done here together. If the Buckeyes and the Fighting Irish had to play right now, I said, hey, Notre Dame is a team that will beat the Buckeyes, which is why I do believe that Notre Dame is 7, Ohio State is 8, Washington 9, Alabama 10. For me going forward, 11 Tennessee, 12 Utah, 13 Oregon, 14 LSU, 15 Oregon State. I had to rework this, and Colorado's in here somewhere. I might top 20, I think top 15, but they are not in my top 10 yet. If Colorado keeps playing well, and I think here's the thing. I get rivalry. I get game day and big noon going to Colorado, I believe, to Boulder for the game between Colorado State and Colorado. I understand that. Let's just think about this for a little bit. This game should be no contest. From Colorado's sake, and I don't really talk about other teams very much, but in the top 10, I'm going to. Colorado should blow Colorado State out of the water. Blow them up. And so I don't know how much stock I could put into Colorado potentially winning or actually beating Colorado State. If it's like 80-5, and I mean realistic now, field goal and a safety, 80-5, then this is a different conversation I'm having right now. But I don't know if it's going to happen. Colorado could very well be in my top 10 next week. The Buckeyes could be back up inside the top 5. As it stands right now, the number 8 in my poll, where do they stand for you? Comments, YouTube comments, fill it up. DM me at JStevens07 on Twitter or X, or Threads or Instagram, wherever you are. DM me. I don't care. I'll reply to it. Email me, wherever it is, whatever platform. Find me at JStevens07 on all the socials. And let's have a good old time conversating about the Buckeyes and what they need to do to be ranked higher in next week's poll. Guys, out of here on a Tuesday. You can follow me on Twitter at JStevens07. Send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're out of here on a Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow, turning the page to the next opponent and then getting ready for another edition of Stock Up, Stock Down. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Tuesday. I'll see you next time.